Hey guys, sorry to bother you. It's Stefan here. I just wanted to take a few minutes of your time to talk about the Movember Fund. So each year in November, we men grow stupid facial hair to raise awareness of men's health across the world. It's a great cause, and it's not just for men. Women can get involved as well. Please donate generously if you see someone growing a stupid mustache for charity. The money really does help promote men's awareness of their own health. And in the end, it could save families and lives. So thanks a lot for your time.
And if you can't grow a mustache like me, just donate. It's nice and simple.
Yes. On with the show.
Hello and welcome to Nerdrunners. I'm Mark, and joining me as always, he's the one they call Dr. Lovegood. He's the one who makes you feel alright. It's Stef.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing today, Stef?
I am more awake than I was at the last podcast. I have to apologise for that. It was truly low energy for me, and I apologise. Lots of issues with plumbing in my house, but I'm back. The plumbing is still not fixed.
It's still not fixed? You still showerless?
I can't fix it. Yeah, but I still have hot water, so I've just been having a bath. Having a bath at 6:30 in the morning is confusing.
Do you put in some like lavender scented bubbles as well? Or
I don't really have time. It's been more of an
it's more of like a sheep
functional
dip.
affair. Sheep dip.
Just like jump in the bath.
How do you have baths?
Well, I'm imagining a very fast bath where you literally just jump into like a trough of water, give yourself a quick scrub, and jump out again. It's like the equivalent of an entire like shower's worth of water being dumped on your head at once.
No, I do even manage to luxuriate a tiny bit.
Put some N-Neuron in the background and just close your eyes, light some candles. Then realise you're 20 minutes late for work and just leg it out the door, towel wrapped loosely round your waist as you get into the car.
Around my neck as a cape for everybody to see. No, right, this is not
what we're here to talk about.
No, we are here to do Data and Destiny Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
And it's all about the runners.
It's all about them runners, baby.
And oh my, we were spoiled. We got 3 of them.
I know,
brand new
not
runners.
just 3 runners, but 3 completely different new factions of runner. Well, sub-factions, whatever we want to call them.
To be fair, I think while they're not going to have the card backing that the other factions have, I still think you can probably call these factions.
Yeah.
So I every time I hear mini-faction, I think, well, yeah, but it's still its own thing, and saying mini kind of diminishes it a little bit. With what they do, like they're so, as we'll get on to talk about, but they're so fucking unique and crazy and do different things, and man, I think calling them mini factions is doing them a bit of a disservice.
Well, either way, we're going to do this one a little bit differently. I know it's the first time you've heard this, Mark. We certainly haven't planned this. But we're going to talk about each individual faction first, like all the cards that it contains, and then we're going to go on a little blurb about what we think about the faction, how we think it's going to work, how we think it's going to change things, etc., etc. Because
as anyone who's played Apex, Adam, or Sunny can probably attest to, you can't really talk about their cards in isolation. You kind of have to consider it as a faction because all the cards really interact with one another so well. So I think we should probably start with Apex then, the flying spaghetti monster that it is. I can't really say he.
Yes,
because Apex is digital. Apex is an invasive predator. His identity subtype is digital, and you cannot install non-virtual resources. When your turn begins, you may install 1 card from your grip face down.
Funky new mechanic.
Yeah.
And he comes with Apocalypse, an event, 3-cost event. Play only if you made a successful run on HQ, R&D, and Archives this turn. Trash all installed Corp cards. Turn all install runner cards face down. Oh lord.
Oh, and I should have mentioned, Apex is a 45-25, so you have 25 influence to play with. There's also Prey. It's a run event, 0 cost. Make a run. Once during this run, when you pass a piece of ice, you may trash a number of your installed cards equal to the strength of that ice. If you do, trash that ice, and it's 2 influence.
And also, his console. Heartbeat, 2-cost console, +1 MU. Trash an install card, prevent 1 damage. So not any particular type of damage, just 1 damage in general. And limit one console per player, obviously.
Apex's icebreaker is Endless Hunger. It's 0 cost to install, but it has a whopping 4 MU on it. So, hope you've packed in some additional memory with you. It says, trash an install card, and then if you do that, you break an End the Run subroutine, and it must be End the Run. It can't have any other text besides little arrow, End the Run. And 11 strength. 11 fucking strength on that. Well. Jesus.
Another program for him. It is a 0 cost, 0 memory program called Harbinger. When Harbinger is trashed, install it face down instead of adding it to your heap.
We also have his 2 resources next. So first up is Hunting Grounds. It's 2 to install. It's a location virtual resource, and it reads once per turn, prevent a when encountered ability on a piece of ice, and a little trash can icon. And you trash Hunting Grounds, you install the top 3 cards of your stack face down.
And finally, of this little faction, another resource, a location. Wasteland, 2 cost resource. First time each turn, you trash one of your installed cards, gain a credit.
And that's also a virtual location as well.
Mm-hmm. So then, Mark, Apex. He's very good, isn't he?
I'm going to be honest, out of the 3 new runners, I was most excited for Apex, and then I've played as each of them. I've done my homework, and my Sunny deck came together quite quickly, and it seemed like a fairly good. Right, I don't really need to mess too much with this. I think I have the deck down. The Adam one took a bit of tweaking. It's a bit weird. I'll get into that in a little bit. But the Apex one, I think I messed around with Apex more than I've done with any other deck recently, trying to work out how to get it to work. 'Cause obviously, I pretty much have 3 of all of his of the 7 cards that we've talked about that belong to Apex's faction. Because, well, for a start, Apex likes duplicate cards because you're putting them face down.
Yep.
And you still want to keep certain ones to go face up. But no, the main thing about Apex, which really floored me, was multi-access and economy. And I forever tried to get data folding to work into Apex, because that seems, it's a virtual resource. Of course that would work in Apex. You can install that. Except that with Endless Hunger taking up your 4 MU, you need to then put in at least one other MU boost, if you're assuming you've got a heartbeat resed. And then you need to have heartbeat plus your 1 MU card, plus data folding out, and then you're only getting 1 credit drip per turn, so then you need to find your other data foldings. But then if you want anything else, any other actual programs besides Harbinger or anything else that's 0 MU, you're going to need more MU on the top of that. So at one point I had 3 Dyson mem chips in there thinking, oh, that's good, it's neutral, it's memory, it gives me link, which is obviously good because Apex isn't super great against tracers, really, especially because you've got no money. But I ended up realizing I was thinking about Apex all wrong. After I played with Apex, I realized that just cards are data. That is all Apex really cares about. It's not about the money, it's not about the multi-access, it's about feeding Apex more and more data to just get into servers and do mean things. And when I started thinking like that, as long as you have a small enough credit pool to be installing things, so obviously Sure Gambles are fine, standard economy for any runner. Dirty Laundry works quite well in Apex, it's because you do a nice little run event. Lucky Find is good if you can spare 2, 4, 6 influence to have a couple of copies. But outside of that, you really have to import event economy into Apex, and I've heard there's a few kind of people doing prepaid Apex, which I'm curious to see work, because that sounds really interesting.
I'd heard the same thing, and I was just like, oh, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah. Because then you can use those prepaid voicepad credits to play your Apocalypse for free, which is an even scarier proposition. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think once I stopped trying to force data folding into Apex, things came together a lot better. And as well with data folding, I realized that you spend all that time trying to get it set up and trying to get your drip economy working with it, and then you play something like Apocalypse and you have to turn all of your cards face down anyway, and you've wasted all that time, energy and money doing something that's all for naught in the end. So yeah, and Wasteland is good. I only managed to get one copy of Wasteland out while I was playing, but still, that you got one credit. You're probably going to be trashing a card each turn anyway. I mean, I was playing with dear old Chopbot 3000 in my deck because it's an interesting way to draw cards and remove tags. Also, it trashes install cards, and Apex has a ton of them face down. And also because I really like the idea that Apex is somehow, like, Ultron style, put its consciousness into this tiny little robot that skitters around the floor, tidying up after it. So that just again, to be honest, the three runner decks all came together very thematically for me as well. Because I had in my Apex deck Brain Cage to boost my hand size, and obviously the good thing about this in Apex is you can absorb the brain damage if you have Heartbeat out and another installed card, which is just great because then you have an 8-card hand size and you haven't already got that brain damage. So obviously if and when Heartbeat trashes because you do an Apocalypse or something, then you'll not go down to 4 cards in hand, you'll still be at 5 because of, you soaked up the brain damage. And I had like E3 feedback implants in the deck as well to obviously help with Endless Hunger, and I put Faust in as well because I figured if cards are data, let's just use cards as data, either by burning it with Hunger or burning them through just getting in with Faust.
Yep.
And it worked out really well for me in the end when I stopped caring about data folding.
Funny that, really.
Yeah.
Funny that.
But I've got to say, the game I played, I was against a Foundry, so already respect for that player because the Foundry is great. And it was a... Shut up, I like it. It's a good, It's a good HP faction.
Sure.
Even if every time I build a Foundry deck, I think I could just swap the ID out for core HP and I would have more money.
It'll get there, maybe.
But it was an Eliza's Toy Box version, and by the third turn, they had 2 Janisses and a Wotan rezzed. I was like, shit, this isn't going very well for me, because none of these have End the Run on them. And, it's going to take like 8 cards to break them with Faust. This isn't going to... And not only that, it was Bioroad Efficiency Committee rezzed 1 Janus. Oversight AI rezzed another Janus. I eventually broke one of the Janisses by clicking through it, and got it to D-res on the Bioroad Efficiency Committee. And then they fucking toy-boxed it back! But the great thing about it was, and I later encountered Merlin in their deck as well, is I used a Hunting Grounds at one point because I needed more cards to sack with Heartbeat, because all I was doing with it was like, okay, I'll run out your Janus, and I'll sack 4 of my face-down cards to just absorb those 4 brain damage, and now I'm into your R&D. And it was great. I didn't install a breaker face-up in that entire game. I just relied on Heartbeat and just absorbing damage that way. It was ridiculous how good just that strategy was.
Yeah.
So immediately it got me thinking, right, so I can break in the run subroutines, I can deal with small things kind of with Faust, I can just absorb damage. Really, there's only kind of high strength things. Tags are going to be a problem. Yeah, obviously you can prevent encounter abilities with Hunting Grounds as well, which is quite nice. It felt like there wasn't much that would keep me out, despite all this fact of, Endless Hunger only breaks like 1/3 of cards, and they're not much played anymore, and all that chatter that seems to be going on now. There seems to be this all-powerful god icebreaker that's going to ruin the game, but it only breaks end the runs, and that's kind of bad in itself. But it's also great because it just means... Because I saw someone talking about this earlier, just like, it just means you put down really cheap end the run pieces of ice. It's like, well, yeah, you can do that. It won't drain you economically to res it against me, but it's roughly going to be the same for me to get through, if not easier, than if you put a big end the run piece of ice out there. Because if you put a curtain wall, that's 3 cards, or a card and 2 credits if you have E3. If you just put an ice wall, it's just 1 card for me to get through, so it's probably cheaper in the end. So Endless Hunger doesn't really matter what end the run piece of ice you have out there. It's just going to destroy it anyway.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did keep forgetting was to trash Harbinger and put it face down. Mm-hmm. And I kept trashing face down cards, forgetting to actually use Harbinger for what it's actually used for. What was it? Oh, and the thing I realised as well is if you trash Harbinger with Faust from your hand, it goes face down. On your deck, which is great.
Yeah, whenever you're going to trash him.
Yeah. So even if you use it as Faust bait, then it's there. It's ready for Endless Hunger next turn if you want it, or even Endless. You can trash with Faust, a Harbinger, and then it goes down ready for Endless Hunger to use on the ice that could be behind it, which is just lovely.
So my experience is somewhat similar to yours, except I had a lot more fun with them because I immediately didn't think of data folding because I thought, well, there's no point if I want to run Endless Hunger.
Yeah.
So I put Faust in there as well, which just makes complete sense.
Absolutely. Cards are data. That's it.
Also using Chopbot, which makes sense. And I had a whale of time because I was just coming up against lots of fast advance.
How did it fare against fast advance? Because obviously I was against
really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it worked well for me because immediately I kind of like, well, the only thing they can possibly do to me is tack me and try and kill me.
Yeah.
So wait to run until I have my heartbeat out and okay, cool, right. Endless Hunt goes down, Faust goes down, Harbinger goes down. Next turn, I just started running. You can't keep me out. Well, I've got a data room. Don't care. Keep going. Just keep going. And it was just throwing cards away.
Yeah.
And I did manage to pull off an Apocalypse.
Did you?
Which was nice because it was NEH and they had about 10 servers.
Oh,
even
even
better. Destroyed everything, and then they just let me. Well, I say they let me. They couldn't keep me out because they had a wraparound over archives. I'm like, that won't stop me.
Not with Endless Hunger. Not with that one end the run subroutine.
So it's just get rid of this. It was a lot of fun. I severely enjoyed Apex.
See, I started enjoying Apex more after I pulled off Apocalypse. Because their archives was undefended, and I made a point of not running it because I had an Apocalypse in my hand for quite a while, but I was waiting to get set up a bit. Then when Heartbeat was down, and I trashed Hunting Grounds to get myself some more just damage absorption, and it's just like, okay, well, I'll run through that Janus that's on your R&D for click 2, just trash 4 face down cards. Run through that Janus that's on HQ for click 3, trash 4 more face down cards. Click 4 Apocalypse, and bye Janus, bye Wotan, bye Eliza's Toy Box.
Yeah.
Just wipe the board, and the only thing, for the rest of the game, the Corp could only put one piece of ice down because they just... I don't know if they've just been trashing a lot of it because they felt well protected, but for the rest of the game, it was just a Merlin over R&D, which again, I could just soak the damage up with Heartbeat. And yeah, eventually won the game because I could just get in everywhere, and they couldn't ice HQ because they didn't have the ice, and they couldn't reinforce R&D because Apocalypse was just amazing to pull off. And at that, obviously, Apocalypse plays, you turn all of your runner cards face down. It was at that point, I think it was like when I started playing Max, I kind of felt liberated. I was like, it doesn't matter what I put down now, it's all face down.
I've still never had a good experience with Max, I'll point out.
But
you're right.
Yeah. So once it's all face down, it's just like, well, this is all this data for me to trash now. It doesn't matter what that card was or the pain or what. It's just it's there to be used now. It doesn't care. I don't care what the text is because it has no text now. Let's just keep running. And as well with when you have a brain cage out and you've got your Heartbeat, your hand size is 8. It means not only do you have a lot of cards that, if they're going to try and scorched earth you have a lot of cards in hand anyway, but you can also keep absorbing the damage with Heartbeat. And not only that as well, but the after you've done an Apocalypse, as long as you've held a Heartbeat back, you put that Heartbeat down, and maybe another Endless Hunger. Pro tip with Apocalypse: don't ever put down your final third of thing face down because you might need it after an Apocalypse.
Just in case.
Just in case. But once you get those two things back down again, it's just I can just keep using all these cards that I've just turned face down thanks to Apocalypse. Apocalypse has now queued me up for the next... Because I think there's been chatter about, you kind of need another click to follow up an Apocalypse. But if the Corp's not ready for it, and you trash some big things, or you trash all their servers...
You make them res something.
Yeah, it's just kind of a point they can't recover from, and then your next turn is when you follow it up with, here's a Heartbeat to get through any damage, or here's an Endless Hunger to get through and end the run or something, and then, you're just through, and Apocalypse is just doing his thing of just getting in there. But the only thing that I would change about my deck is I had some R&D interfaces in, and obviously I wasn't quite rich with my deck, so I don't know if I'd forego multi-access altogether in Apocalypse, or if I'd try and maybe... Because you can't really have... maybe this, like, you could easily put, like, the good thing about it, if you're mad, you could put 2 Endless Hungers on 1 Leprechaun if you're really crazy.
Yeah, which would be funny.
But yeah, aside from kind of a Leprechaun or some more MU boosting, then I don't know. Getting interfaces are expensive to get down, and could probably end up getting turned face down anyway with Apocalypse. I thought about maybe viruses like Medium and Nerve Agents, because then the corp's wasting time purging just a single virus, maybe. But then it's the case of needing the MU. So I don't know. It's a tricky one, really. I saw a few decks with Q Coherence chip and just thought, like, are you mad? Do you want to use Harbinger? It's gonna trash. It's gonna trash.
I do like the idea of running a prepaid Apex, prepaid Apocalypse. Because when you think of all the events you could roll up to bringing out, your Angel Hunger and your Harbingers and things, just to get more money. And, you can throw in things like Maker's Eye as well, because it's got such a large amount of influence.
Yeah. I think I'd probably end up doing that, is replacing the multi-access I had with run events.
Yeah.
And then it's... Because I found with Apex as well, it's a really slow start. I don't know if you had the same experience, but I had a really slow kind of start, and it helped that I was against a slow deck like the Foundry. But it gave me that time to build up. But the thing I struggled with at the start, I'd be interested to know if you had this as well, is that I didn't know, because I didn't start with any dupes in hand, so I didn't really know what I could put face down. So I'm like, the first few turns I was very tentative about what card I was going to put face down with my ability, and there were quite a few turns early on where I wasn't putting anything face down. But then, kind of, once turn 6-7 rolled around, then it's like, oh, cool, I'll put this other Heartbeat face down, or, I'm probably not going to use Prey this game because they've got 2 fucking Janisses, so that's going to go down. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed I didn't get to use Prey, but... so how did you find kind of the setup process for Apex?
It was slow. I was worried, because like you say, Endless Hunger's good, but it only gets rid of the end of the run, so until you have a Heartbeat out... Yeah. To protect you against horrible damage, and a nice suite of installed cards. It's kind of, it's rough.
Yeah, you definitely need to be getting those face down cards as early as you can. From turn 1, you need to be putting stuff face down because otherwise you just burn through. Like I had to wait for my Apocalypse for the right moment to have at least 8 cards to trash with Heartbeat to get through 2 Janisses. So. It just goes really quickly.
Yeah, and like you've got to pick what cards you've got to put face down, and I don't know. Like I was almost tempted to put Plascrete Carapace in there just to stop me worrying about getting out the Heartbeat so early on.
Yeah, and then I guess you can once Heartbeat's out, you can put any dupes of Plascrete down face down as well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
who's wearing the body armor if Apex is a digital entity? I'm
telling you, no one's wearing the body armor. It's in the body armor.
Oh, it's in the body armor.
Yeah, we've reached another Avengers 2 situation. Right, we should move on because there are 2 more factions to go, and we've talked about Apex for a while.
We have,
and this is one that I haven't played a lot of, really, but you seem to play more than I do. So, do you want to lead us in?
Sure. We have Adam. He is a compulsive hacker.
Hey.
It's also a Biroid. Everyone's wanted a Biroid runner for so long now. Finally,
man. Here it is. Does that mean that Biroid? No.
Zero link 4525. Yep, zero link and 4525, just like Apex. And the text on Adam's ID card reads: "You start the game with 3 different directive cards installed. These cards are not considered part of your deck." So I think it's only pertinent we go and read those 3 directives right now. So, Steph, what's the first one?
Okay, Mark, so the first directive, it's 0 cost, it's a directive virtual, it's always be running. Your first click each turn must be spent to make a run or play a run event. Once per turn you can spend 2 clicks to break a subroutine on a piece of ice currently being encountered. Which, I just want to pause for a second and say, I love the fact that he's spending clicks like a Biroid.
Yeah, how great is that?
It's so nice, it's so nice. Anyway, sorry.
Going alphabetically, the next one is Neutralize all threats. Another virtual directive. 0 to install and 3 influence. The first time each turn you access a card with a trash cost, you must trash it by paying the trash cost if able. However, whenever you access cards from HQ, access 1 additional card.
And the last directive, like his brother's directive, 0 cost, is safety first. Your maximum hand size is reduced by 2. When your turn ends, draw 1 card if you do not have cards in your grip equal to or greater than your maximum hand size.
Next we have Independent Thinking. It's a 1-cost event. Trash up to 5 of your installed cards. Draw 1 card for each card you trashed, or 2 cards for each trashed card if you trashed at least 1 directive. And that's Adam holding his bloody hammer, doing his best Edward Kim impression.
He was free.
He's free.
Next card up is Brain Chip. It is a console for Adam. 2 cost with plus XMU. Your maximum hand size will increase by X, where X is equal to the number of agenda points you have.
Okay. We also have Multi-Threader, Adam's program. 3 cost, 1 MU, 2 recurring credits, and you use those credits to pay for using programs. 1 influence.
Possibly my favourite named card in the entire pack now is Dr. Lovegood. It is a 2-cost resource connection. When your turn begins, choose one of your installed cards. The text box of that card is blank for the remainder of this turn.
Cool. And just before we get on to discussing Adam, I found a little while ago on the FFG website a little bit of piece about Adam, and it kind of talks about the directives, and I thought it's quite interesting considering his directives are kind of breaking his programming. So in Android law and based off kind of the Asimov rules of robotics, the first directive states that a bioroid may not kill or cause serious harm to a human, nor through its inaction allow a human to suffer death or serious harm. The second directive states that a bioroid's job functions are its first priority, except where it would violate the first directive, and the third directive states that a bioroid must report to Hasbioroid for weekly maintenance when doing so, when would not violate the first or second directives. And in terms of how that relates to Adam's directives that he starts the game with, the first directive is represented by safety first. So Adam's hand size is lowered because he's always preoccupied with the safety of others. That's the reasoning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
The second directive is represented by always be running. Adam feels compelled to hack because it has been hardwired into his programming and is presented to him as his job and his purpose. This means that he must run on his first click each turn. And finally, Adam's third directive has been replaced entirely, and he no longer has to report back to Hasbioroid. Instead, he feels compelled to neutralize all threats, destroying anything that he perceives as a threat to his autonomy, so long as it doesn't violate his first or second directives.
Law. Right. I will talk about the deck I was running. So, it's probably been more encapsulated now in the modern Prometheus deck, which was updated last Sunday by Seamus on Netrunner DB, but it's very similar. I think I moved a couple of things over here and there, but the idea that I was playing with the directives rather than fighting against them.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, that's kind of what the whole point is. Like, I've heard some other podcasts kind of complain about how the directives aren't good and some of the cards that relate to them aren't good, but really, I don't think you're playing it properly.
I also had
is that slander? I don't know.
I was going to say, I also had a very good time with the directives, and especially early game, it wasn't a drawback for me. It kind of, I know for a while now I've said Adam feels very Shaper to me, but after playing with his directives, it almost felt kind of anarch and a bit criminal in a way. It's just kind of run, trash, steal that, and you just kind of, in a way, it sets you up to how, it gives you a particular style to play as in the first few turns. And then when I came to draw Independent Thinking, I didn't want to trash my directives because I was really enjoying them, and the only one I ended up trashing was safety first.
Yeah,
and that was purely
exactly
because
what happened with me.
The only reason I trashed that was because I stole a 3-point agenda on turn 1 thanks to my double access in HQ, and then I just drew to my brain chip and then installed that, and then I was like, well, safety first doesn't really matter now. I've got an Earthrise Hotel going, but keeping always be running and neutralize all threats ready, and turning one or the other off with Dr. Lovegood whenever I needed to, not run on my first click. To be fair, I really benefited with Neutralize All Threats because I was playing against Industrial Genomics, which meant that 9-cost Sunju that I couldn't trash anyway, I'm definitely not trashing now because I don't have 9 credits.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I think I came off really well in that game. So okay, I'll not run your archives. You can have 10 cards in there, but I'll access 2 from HQ.
Yeah, I personally, I played them against 2. I played them against a Replicated Perfection. I played them against a Hasbioroid deck, which was a Bioroid Ice deck, which felt
so
really
good.
cathartic. I don't know why, but But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and in my deck I included a lot of stim hacks in there to try and get cards out really quickly.
Yeah.
But no, I had a lot of fun with him, and like I say, I think the directives help you kind of in the early game. It's what I thought about this is it might be a very, very good early learning runner deck. Like, just as a thought, because you have the directives and you have to do what it tells you to do until you find the tools to break free of these constraints. And yeah, they might be a little bit confusing.
It is quite difficult trying to remember six things.
I was really struggling in the first few turns of like, oh god, what have I got to do? Hold on, let me read my directives again. I've got to be on this. But I thought, because it pretty much controls what you have to do.
Yeah.
It might be an interesting choice for a first time runner deck.
And the thing I like about it as well, because as a first time runner deck, if you were to use it like that, you make the beginner who's playing Adam has to run every turn on their first click.
You just mispronounced Adam.
That's what I said, Adam.
You said Adam. Sorry, carry
on. But yeah, you're teaching them to always be running, which is always good advice anyway. Mm-hmm. You're teaching them to trash cards, which again is always good advice. Hand size thing, maybe not so much, especially against such a kill heavy meta. But
yeah, but it teaches you caution.
It does. Safety first.
Safety first.
But no, I found as well with always be running the
so much.
corporation I was playing against, Industrial Genomics. They just didn't want to res their ice over HQ because they knew I could click through it, and it only had one. I think, what was it now? I think it was probably just a Lotus Field or something like that. It's like, I don't really want to spend 5 credits because you can get through this without having a rig out. It will take you half a turn, but you can still get through it, and at the end of it, you're going to access 2 cards from HQ anyway, so I might as well not even bother resing it. So even Always Be Running has that nice little kick of, does that corp really want to res that piece of ice when you can just click through it, perhaps?
Interesting. One of the other things I noticed about him, which is, as much as I like Adam, you want to know what really annoys you in the late game?
Mm-hmm.
Shikyu. Because if you're relying on your brain chip to give you your MU...
and it takes one away from you.
It just takes one away, and it really screwed me in the final turns of the game.
Man.
I just ran into it. I was getting cocky.
Yeah.
It's my own fault. I was just like, oh, God. But, and it's kind of interesting as well. Like, I used Dr. Lovegood to ignore my Earthrise.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had too many cards in hand. So I was just like, well, I'm just not going to use my Earthrise this turn.
See, that's really good. I used it on an Armitage once just to stop, so I could have all 3 of my directives going again at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I like the fact that you can use it on... I hadn't realised as well that you have to nominate something with Lovegood.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, this turn I'm not going to nominate anything. You have to pick something when Dr. Lovegood's in the house. But like you say, you can pick something like an Earthrise and keep it going for a few more turns.
Yeah. And I also found quite a nice combination with that and Public Sympathy, which is a card I haven't used in a long time.
Yeah.
But if you don't remember, it's a 2-cost resource that increases your maximum hand size by 2, which completely negates the downside of Safety First.
And it's thematically great as the public rallies around the first free buy ride.
Yeah. Oh, the theme. Oh, my head.
Tell you what I was running with Adam is... Because, again, like... I knew kind of more or less what I wanted to do with Apex, and Sunnies came together really quickly. But with Adam, I didn't really know what direction to go, because obviously he doesn't come with any breakers himself, so he has to port them in from somewhere else. So I was like, what's good with increased memory is Overmind.
Yep.
So obviously Overmind went in there. And then I really hadn't spent that much influence at all. And I was like, what is really interesting is that I can trash cards to draw cards. And side note, that could be quite good in Apex. But I was thinking, so, well, what's good to trash? It's the cards that have kind of outstayed their welcome. Because really, at one point I was holding on to an Armitage, 2 credits left on it, just so I could trash that to draw another card, or 2 cards if I was going to trash a directive. I was like, well, when Overmind runs out of counters, I could trash that as part of my independent thinking. And then I was like, you know what else has power counters? The Cerberus suite. So I'm using most of my influence on 2 of Cujo, 2 of Lady, and 2 of Rex.
Yeah, Adam and his dogs.
Adam and his dogs. Well, the deck's currently called I Asimov, but I'm tempted to rename it to Asimov's Dogs, just because of that. But yeah, it's because then you've got your Overmind out with however many counters on it. You've got your particular breakers to get through any, and as well, like I realised with Adam, it's like, well, then you can spend your just power counters to break the subs, and then you've got your multi-threader to boost these, so you can kind of get round spending credits on stuff, particularly if that credit is always going to be spent on trashing stuff that you access. So therefore, I kind of removed economy in a way from the icebreakers, just had kind of the power counter ones and multi-threader in. But I also threw Uninstall in, which is a card that I've been enjoying from a distance from a long time, trying to make it work, and it's great. So you can just go. Your Overmind is basically run out of counters. You've since stolen another 3 agenda points. Your brain chips upped your MU. You just uninstall that Overmind. You reinstall it, and now has 3 more counters on it than it previously did, which is really nice. And you can also use it on the dogs when they run out of power counters if you're not going to trash them, and just kind of refresh it. So yeah, overall, I thought that was actually quite a good combination, and seemed to be just weird enough to work. And again, as with Apex, I ended up winning my game with Adam, but it's purely on just Overmind. I was overminding through an Ashigaru, and basically spending my entire Overmind worth of counters just to get through Ashigaru and access a couple of cards, because I'd put in R&D interface again, trying to worm in some multi-access with the deck as well. And independent thinking is great. It's so good if you get your brain chip down and you still have safety first out, then being able to just trash a couple, maybe one directive, because you only need to trash one directive for you to start getting 2 cards instead of 1. For each card trashed. The directive and a couple of cards that power counter cards that have run out of power counters, or your Earthrise Hotel before it finishes next turn or something like that. Just trash them, and now you've filled your hand size ready. So you've broken free of your chains, your brain's been upgraded, and it worked really well, because I honestly had my doubts about independent thinking in Adam with kind of like a standard breaker suite in a way, but if you're kind of using temporary stuff anyway, independent thinking does make quite a lot of sense.
Yeah, I threw them together with the fixed strength Anarch things, and it wasn't terrible. It was just sort of, I played him too traditionally towards the end, and that's what I think the issue was. But hey ho,
yeah,
I liked him a lot, but not as much as the last one. Oh, Mark, let's talk about my favourite runner ever. This is Sunny LeBeau. She is a security specialist, a 50-25 runner with 2 link.
Say what, Steph? 2 link?
I said 2 link. And you'll notice that this becomes a lot of fun later on.
Is it going to be a recurring theme with her cards, perhaps?
Oh my lord, yes. Go!
Okay, first up on Sunny's side, we have Security Chip, 0 cost hardware. It's a chip, and you trash it, and you choose an icebreaker, or any number of cloud icebreakers. Each chosen icebreaker has +1 strength for each link you have for the remainder of this run. Use this ability only during a run. So, you start with 2 links, so that's at least +2 strength. Nice.
Yep. Adding more link to the mix is Security Nexus, an 8-cost console, +1 MU, +1 link. With the text, once per turn, when you encounter a piece of ice, you may force the corp to trace 5. If successful, give the runner 1 tag and end the run. If unsuccessful, the runner bypasses the currently encountered ice.
What? Anyway, well, we have so much to talk about on Sunny. Anyway,
oh my god, yeah.
Now, her breaker suite. We have, first up, GS Striker M1. It's an icebreaker, it's a decoder, 4 cost, 1 MU. But don't listen to that MU, because if you have at least 2 M link, the memory cost of GS Striker M1 is 0, even if it's not installed. And it's 1 strength, and you can pay 2 to break any number of Codegate subroutines, and pay 2 to give it +3 strength.
It's bigger. The next one is GS Shrike M2. It is an icebreaker, a killer. If you have at least 2 link, the memory cost of GS Shrike M2 is 0, even if it's not installed. For 2 credits, break any number of Sentry subroutines. For 2 credits, +3 strength. It's badder.
And finally, rounding out her breaker suite, it's 3 cost 1 MU. This is her Fractor. It's GS Sherman M3. If you have at least 2 link, the memory cost of GS Sherman M3 is 0, even if it's not installed. 1 strength, 2 credits to break any number of barrier subroutines, and 2 credits to give it +3 strength.
Boom. I love that entire suite. Next one up, Globalsec security clearance. It's a 2 cost virtual resource. Install only if you have at least 2 link, which is good. When your turn begins, you may lose a click. If you do, look at the top card of R&D. We'll get onto that.
And finally, Sunny's rounded out with Jack Sinclair. 3 costs. And it's a resource, it's connection. Reduce the cost to install Jack Sinclair by 1 for each link you have. When your turn begins, you may make a run. You cannot use programs during this run.
Oh, I love Sunny so much.
Okay, why do you love Sunny?
Oh, because it just annoys MBN players so very, very much. So, let me talk to you about my first Sunny game. So I threw a Sunny deck together very haphazardly. It turned out to have more resources in it than any other type of card. 22 resources, all told. The only complaint I have about Sunny, I know this is going to sound like a stupid complaint, is that she doesn't have enough influence. Sounds bad, but I'll get onto that. I was playing a Tag Me NBN, and they were very sad. They were very sad, because I had such a large amount of link by the end of it, because not only was I running Security Nexus, but I also had 3 Dyson mem chips in there as well, which give you a memory and a link. I was running Employee Strike, which is a card we'll get to, but that really upset them.
You could have also thrown in access to Globalsec, which gives you +1 link.
Yes, seriously, I'd consider doing it, just to pair with the Globalsec security clearance.
Yeah.
But my favourite play of the entire game was the combination of security testing and Jack Sinclair. Because security testing, first time, when your turn begins, you choose server, first time you make a successful run on that server, this turn, instead of accessing cards, gain 2. And because you pair it with Jack Sinclair, at the start you just make a run, free of clicks. You just get 2 money most of the time if it's an unprotected server, and it doesn't matter if it's got something horrible in it because you're not accessing cards. It's just, I love it so much. The cloud icebreakers she's got, they're powerful, they're costly, but you throw in a couple of multi-threaders in there, and because of your Dyson mem chips that I said earlier, and
or even just being Sunny, your cloud breakers aren't taking up any MU, so you can have 3 multi-threaders out.
I know,
and still have 2 MU free if you've got a security nexus down.
Yep. She is the runner of my dreams, the runner that you take to people and say, you can't tag and kill me. Like, if we're gonna play old school. Like, you'll beat me because I'm terrible at this game, not because you found a way to tag me and blow me up. So I just running past data ravens like, yeah, I don't care. Like, whatever. So, like, someone tried to mid-seasons me. It's like, good for you. I'll just spend some money. Yeah, you're not getting me. Unless you want to boost that to a ridiculous amount. It's just so much fun to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting side note, actually, because obviously because I was putting the Cerberus suite into my Adam deck, and that is H1, H2, H3, and that refers to the 3 heads of the Cerberus, but also H1, 2, and 3 is also HTML code for heading. And, heads of a dog heading. Crazy. So I was interested in M1, M2, M3, because I was like, that has to mean something. They've done that. I reckon GS just means Globalsec. Yes. It's their Striker, their Shrike, their Sherman. I was just like, well, I wonder what that could be. And I looked at it first kind of in terms of HTML, and you can do stuff with M1, M2, M3, and it's to do with width of columns in tables, and I was like, well, that kind of makes sense, because your Striker, your sub is quite narrow and thin, your Shrike, your plane is kind of a bit wider than your sub, and then your land blasting tank Sherman is probably the widest of them all, so that would kind of make sense. But it actually, I also found another thing, linking it to kind of vehicles. And I found a particular link to the Bradley tanks, or the Bradley fighting vehicles, which with every... There's like loads of them, so it goes up to like M7 something. But in terms of M1, M2, M3, basically the Bradley gets larger and holds more ammunition and more guns the larger it gets. I was like, that has to be the reference they're making to the Bradley fighting vehicles. because they start off being kind of more troop transport and reconnaissance-y stuff, but eventually by the time you get to M3, they're not really carrying as many troops, but they're carrying a fuck ton of bullets. And obviously with M3 also being a tank kind of makes sense, and it does kind of look, if you look at the three next to each other, it kind of doesn't really look like Stryker's got much besides like a blade and two kind of wicked buzzsaws for wings. And then you can see the Stryker's got quite a lot of kind of rocket launchers, but then the Sherman is just all over guns, and the Sherman is just going to blow through that barrier. I was trying to work it out as well in terms of thematic. Like, obviously the Sherman just blows up barriers. The Shrike obviously just dive bombs and just destroys the killers. But I guess in terms of the submarine for the Stryker, I guess that would kind of go underwater and under code gates, perhaps. But
yeah. Oh, it's just a precision strike to knock it out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Perhaps.
I think you're looking too deeply.
I am.
It's just good.
You know
good
what I'm like
cards.
with sets of cards, though.
I know.
But no, they're great, and it's any number of subroutines as well for 2 credits, and
yep.
I'm sure many people paired Sunny with the Underworld Contact, which gives you 1 credit at the start of your turn.
Data folding as well, I did.
And data folding, of course, so you got a ton of drip economy. I had Katie Jones as well, so I was not a poor runner as Sunny. I had lots of money.
Also throw in some daily casts as well, just to really twist the knife.
Well, obviously Sunny is on like her own podcast while she's hacking away. It's just like live hacks with Sunny LeBeau. She's just like, today we're hacking into Jinteki.
Oh look, Tracy guys denied.
But yeah, my game with Sunny was over remarkably quickly, so unfortunately I didn't really get a chance to play with too many of the cards, including the icebreakers, her console, her hardware, or Jack Sinclair. But out of her, I did play with Globalsec security clearance. Jesus, that's a good card.
Yep.
And especially because I have just come off playing Laramie Fisk with Woman in the Red Dress, so I'm now used to revealing cards from R&D. But the important word is there, revealing, so the Corp gets to see as well. Now You're just looking at the top card, and the Corp has no idea what you just saw. And when you've seen a 3-point agenda, you know exactly where to run to, because the Corp doesn't even have a window to draw it like they do with Woman in the Red Dress, where they can move it to somewhere potentially safer. No, that card's there, you know what it is, the Corp can't do anything about it, and you can go in and take it. Potentially with Jack Sinclair, by making that run before you turn himself. I paired
programs, though.
Well, you have your security nexus and just bypass that piece of ice by beating the trace.
Yep.
Because you have tons of link. But the thing that I did as well is to negate the losing a click with security clearance is obviously put in adjusted chronotype, because if anyone is going to benefit from the the kind of needing more time in their day to get everything done, it's obviously the mother hacker with her kids who needs to go back home and sort them out, get them ready for bed, or take them to school. It's like, no, I need more time in my day. I'm going to adjust my chronotypes. Now I'm going to keep hacking. But yeah, Sunny is great. I mean, any other of the cards that you found were really good with in Sunny's faction?
Security chip, absolutely security chip. Security chip, the chip that allows you to just... People forget about it. They do just forget about it. They'll throw down ice and you're like, okay, cool, I've got all this link now, so I'll just burn a security chip to get through.
Yeah.
You know, it's to the point at which I was running it with test run. Just because, hey, why not? It was just an option to do. And, oh god, it was so good. I love this deck.
And it does feel like...
I found my runner. That's the thing. It took an entire new faction to come out, but I finally found my runner.
It kind of feels as well like Sunny is almost the most fully formed out of the box. She has, 3 breakers, she has a console, she has a couple of, resources you can use as well. It kind of feels like she is such, like, concentrated down to the bare essence of what a typical... inverted commas runner needs, because obviously Adam and Apex are a bit different. But even Sunny herself is just like, alright, I'm just going to fuck with Link now, and now I have tons of Link, and I can do stuff with it.
It's
and
so
just
good.
For a minute as well, let's talk about Security Nexus. Like, what? What on earth is going on there? Not only does it give you...
It's really good. It's to the point at which, if it wasn't 3 influence, I'd throw it into something else.
Yeah.
And it might almost be doing for a cloud icebreaker deck. for what's his name, Geist.
See,
the Heist Geist.
I thought about that, but I still like Forger in Geist just because it's so cheap
Yeah.
and you're trashing it as well. But I do like Security Chip in Geist to give to boost. Well, yeah, I guess you probably bumped Geist up to 2. Yeah, you probably only get 2 link from a security.
But it's sometime enough.
Sometime enough. But also, what is it? Wasteland in Apocalypse will definitely help in Geist with your trashing cards to gain money. But the only problem I think I've come across with that is when I built a Geist deck, his memory, his influence was so tight anyway. Kind of like Sunny, it's like he needs more. Actually, yeah. Explain to me why you didn't have enough influence, because I also had this problem.
I've got enough influence, but then I have too many cards. It's a case of I either have too few cards or too much influence.
Right, I'm with you.
Like at the minute, I'm on 51 cards and 24 influence. So if I can lose a card and gain, well, I can't even. I think the trouble is more cards I lose, the less likely it is that I'm going to have. I want to fulfill all the influence.
Yeah,
that's the problem. I need it to be complete, but. It's not terrible. I'm still mucking around with the events.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact I don't have Dirty Laundry in there. Dirty Laundry is a card I always include.
Yeah.
So
it's good economy and it's run.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you couldn't Dirty Laundry with Jack Sinclair because you can't play a run event. Yeah. It's just I think your security testing Jack Sinclair thing is a really good idea.
I think it's more something people hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
I never saw anybody actually doing it, and I was like, why is no one running this combo? And yes, security testing is expensive in terms of. That's probably why I think
it's the influence, isn't it? What sec test is 3 influence.
Yeah.
But I mean, even thematically works so well with Sunny as well. I'll just do a quick test of their server before I go in for the big one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
No, Sunny. That was the thing. Like, I came away from Tuesday night having played one game with each runner, albeit my Sunny one was over super fast because, I got Globalsec security clearance down super early, and I could just see where their agendas were. And also thanks to one card, which we're going to come to in about 3 cards' time. But yeah, I enjoyed all 3 of them so much. Like, there wasn't a time playing any of them, except maybe when I just started with Apex, because it was like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. It feels kind of slow, but all 3 runners I had such a blast with, and all of them are great. It's FFG have done such a good job. Not just 3 new amazing ways to play, and all of them are great. Not a dud amongst them. It's just amazing. And
some that are confusing, some that require more thought than others.
I think out of all of them, Apex might require a bit more time and fine-tuning, maybe a couple more cards down the line, but maybe this prepaid Apex is the way to go. Maybe that's what people were missing to start with. Because people hear prepaid and then they think Kate, and they don't think of any other card.
Prepaid Apex. Prepex. Right, we have 3 more cards. Shall we get through them?
Yeah, we'll do these classic style. Yeah, let's do them reverse.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
Okay, Technical Writer. 0 cost resource. Whenever you install a piece of hardware or a program, place 1 credit from the bank on Technical Writer. Click and trash. Take all credits from Technical Writer. With possibly the best flavor text ever. Technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Absolutely. This is really cool. And this reminded me a bit of Da Vinci with the kind of whole building up power counters to spend on something, but now you're kind of just building up credits to then install something with that. So I saw the connection there. Maybe there's even you can play them together in a way, but I guess you're probably wouldn't work so well together thinking about it.
The only issue I have with it is that you have to get it out super early.
Yeah.
So you'd almost want to mulligan into it if you could.
Yeah, or if you're running a super heavy install-y deck, which is like a Noise Shop.
Apex deck.
Noise Shop. Apex wouldn't benefit so much because you can't actually have Technical Writer since it's not virtual.
Oh, it's true, yeah.
Even if it wasn't Apex,
rubbish.
You're installing a lot of stuff face down anyway.
Yeah. Alright, ignore me, fine.
Otherwise, that was another problem with Apex, was just trying to find virtual resources. Shit, I forgot to mention, DDoS in Apex is absolutely include DDoS in Apex, because not only is it phenomenal, not only is it a virtual resource that it's something you can include in the deck, but if you trash DDoS on the turn you're going to do an apocalypse, they're not rezzing any more ice to keep you out. absolutely DDoS, and not, thematically as well. Apocalypse doing Apex doing a DDoS attack on the servers before it just destroys them. So many reasons to run DDoS in Apocalypse. I absolutely recommend it. It's fucking good. But yeah, technical writer. I like it, but in like I was thinking more like, you know, the kind of Haley install all your chameleons deck. Mm-hmm. You kind of just keep installing your chameleons and build up a huge...
That would work phenomenally well. I hadn't even thought about rebuilding the... It was Chameleon Kate in the end.
Oh, was it Chameleon Kate?
Yeah, just to make it cheaper. Just to start.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, but with that, you probably want to be using that to eventually use the money on Technical Writer to install something big.
Yep.
I tell you what is something really big that you could install with Technical Writer.
Mm.
You could install a monolith with Technical Writer.
Oh, don't make me go back down that road. No one loves me to being down that road. It was a fun time, but we're not doing it again.
I tell you what is good about Technical Writer compared to DaVinci as well is you take the credits from Technical Writer. You don't have to spend them straight away, whereas with DaVinci you have to spend the power counters up, not exceeding the amount to install something straight away. So with Technical Writer you already have flexibility. It's kind of a sly economy card. And yeah, you could just build up a ton of money for Technical Writer. Then by mid-game, you have horrendous amounts to spend on whatever you want, be it a monolith or be it, just maybe a fem or something. Or even if it's just you're doing it to kind of just have an economic advantage.
Yep. Oh, the fun. The fun times. Right, next one.
Next one is Windfall. It's an event. It's no influence. And you shuffle your stack. That bit is very important.
Yes.
Trash the top card of your stack. Gain X credits where X is equal to the install cost of that card. So there's a few interesting things about this before we get talking. It has to be an install cost of the card. So if it's an event you trash with Windfall, you get bugger all. Mm-hmm. And you shuffle your stack after you play Windfall. So you can't do any deck manipulation such as roller decks, which I thought would be brilliant with this beforehand. So already I've started to think the too many instances where it's not going to work as well for you. But if you, I did have the crazy idea of if you power draw through your entire deck and somehow ensure that a monolith is the last card, the last card in your deck.
Monolith tonight.
No, this was independent of Technical Writer.
Sure, it was.
I was like, well, because then you shuffle one card. And then you trash that one card, and it's a monolith, and you get 18 credits. But it's such a really difficult situation to engineer that you probably, by the time you've done it, you might as well have just clicked for 18 credits.
It's if you're running very heavy install cost, or it's pretty good if you just say you levy and then throw it down. Fair enough. You might get something decent from it. It's a weird one, and I'm not sold on it personally.
I wonder about this in maybe some of those Professor personal workshop decks that have quite a lot of big programs, because you can have a Morningstar and a Torch and all that stuff, because it doesn't count towards your influence if they're one-offs. And then you just play the Windfall, and you're probably going to trash something big anyway? Perhaps? I don't know. Maybe could work in something like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's rough, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think it could be solid. All right, I'm going to read out this last card, and then I'm going to disappear for a while you talk about it. Okay. Okay. So, a card both me and Mark are very happy with, very excited by, is Employee Strike. It is a one-cost current event. As you with all currents, this card is not trashed until another current is played or an agenda is scored. The corpse identity text box is blank. I will be back in about 5 minutes. Mark, enjoy your platform.
This card wins games.
I'm still here.
It's great. It's one influence, so if you want a couple of these in your deck, it's going to take up some precious influence. But it's fantastic. If you think about how annoying a cerebral static could be against a runner, and how much of a runner's game plan that shuts off, it's huge. But Cerebral Static is like a 2-influence Jinteki card. Here we have a 1-influence neutral card that does the same thing.
Yep.
And I think the only corporation this wouldn't affect would be Next Design, who, like Andromeda, has already blanked their card ability by your first turn, the runner's first turn.
Yep.
Other than that, this just shuts down everything, and I may have had a really best-case situation, but turn 2, I played this against Gagarin, and then I could go and access all of their remote servers just fine. Not only that, but this overwrote their paywall implementation, which I was even happier about.
I played this against an NEH deck, and that really screwed their plans up.
Did they have to draw cards like regular
like
corporations?
regular schmoes?
It's a wonderful card, and if you have the influence, 3 of these in your runner deck, absolutely. 2,
keep playing
2 maybe. Them. It's gonna just destroy corporations. Will just be screwed. They're like, play this against Harpsichord and steal all the agendas you want. Play this against Replicate Perfection and run their remote servers and just flip them off while you do it. Play this against.
I love the flip them off while you do it.
Play this against Blue Sun and watch them cry when they can't pick up that oversighted curtain wall they just played.
Oh man, it is. Oh, it's good. It's so good, and I don't. Oh.
Yeah, it's good against
it's just
everyone
I think of, it just upsets them so much.
Who else does this really kick in the teeth?
Argus Security.
Oh my god, Argus Security, yes.
Jinteki Biotech. As someone who plays Jinteki Biotech, loves it, you can't flip anymore.
Or even, who was I going to say? Personal Evolution. You're not taking any net damage anymore.
Yeah. It's replicating perfection. With the prevalence of RP,
yeah,
this has just really screwed the people. It's like, yeah, suck it. Screw your remote servers.
They're mine. The only time that wouldn't be as good is if you click 1, play Employee Strike, click 2, run the remote, because then you basically did the run the central first.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
But having this out beforehand is just great.
Yeah, and, it doesn't work so well for, like, Wayland building a better world, because, big money Wayland anyway. But Titan just gets screwed by it.
Yeah. If you think about...
Still Gagarin, it's just the funniest one.
It was brilliant. It was just all of a sudden... It's like...
Oh, it doesn't quite work with Grindel.
Oh, Grindel as well, yeah, that would... That's already blanked by its first turn. But it's just... Again, if you, so corporations build towards their identity. That is why they pick that identity. If you blank it, then they
have nothing.
They have nothing, and their game plan has gone out of the window. And not only that, but when I was playing against Gagarin, and it was just like, yeah, just keep installing remote servers. I've got a good drip economy, and I'll go check it. And not only that, but I managed to swipe. They installed 2 new remotes on 1 turn. And I was like, you know what? I can go check them. Nice and easy, because your employees are on strike. And one of them was a Future Is Now, which they would have scored next turn. And also got rid of my employee strike. So having employee strike enabled me, with more confidence, to check that remote and take the agenda and keep their employees on strike for longer. Absolutely brilliant. This is the... And 1 cost. For what it does, 1 cost is ridiculous. In fact, I tell you, the only corporation that could maybe go toe-to-toe with this is New Angeles Sol. Because if they have a lot of currents in their deck anyway... The odds are that they can draw into one and overwrite Employee Strike quite easily. Not many other corporations are probably running enough currents, or any currents, in fact, to counter this besides scoring out agendas. But New Angeles Sol could, in theory, overwrite this with their own current, and then just keep the currents in play after that by having agendas scored or stolen. Because at that point, you put another current out anyway. So that's possibly the only one with, inverted commas, active text box, unlike Grindel and Next Design, that could actually maybe not be as affected so badly against the strike action.
Yeah.
But, oh my god, it's wonderful. Bloody good card. What a card to end on, Steph.
What a card. Right, well that has been Data and Destiny. Double Ds. D&D. Whatever you want to call it. What do you think of the pack overall? Let's do a quick 5-minute round out.
Okay.
We're already way over time.
Are we just going to talk about the runners, or should we go back to Corps as well?
Either. Overall things.
Overall, MBN went wide instead of tall, as usual with the corporations and the runners in the big boxes. Lots more emphasis on tracers, so even making news from core set is, those 2 recurring credits mean something again. They can start including a lot more trace ice. Traces are bigger and beefier now, and there's lots more messing around with trace stuff, like with surveillance sweep, make the runner pay first. And then the runners are just wacky good, just awesome. And then there's employee strike on top of that, which is just like the huge cherry and the biggest fuck you to every corporation. Can't emphasize this enough. Put it in your decks. It's awesome. I was so when that was in my opening hand as Sunny, I was just like, yep, this. I'll wait till next turn because I want to get my economy set up. But next turn, your employees go on strike, and see how you like that, Mr. Space Station Wayland. I
just love the idea of just sending currents back and forth, just blanking each other's text boxes. It's just like nope, damn, last one.
If there's a war of attrition between corps and runners, constantly playing employee strike and cerebral static.
Yeah.
No, I blank you. No, I blank you. No, I blank you.
Oh, man.
And the good thing as well, I've just realised that if someone is playing cerebral static, Sunny's not affected by it either, because her text box is nothing. It's all about her link.
Yep.
So
it's all good for me. Sunny is as Sunny does.
And actually Adam as well, because he starts the game with 3 directives. That's it. After that, his text box doesn't mean much. So Apex would really be the only one affected that much. If cerebral static somehow makes a big comeback.
We'll see.
Yeah, but no, amazing. I mean, what are your thoughts, Steph, kind of overall between Runner and Corp?
I love what they did with MBN. They gave them interesting new options for tagging, and yes, there is still a lot of tagging and stuff in MBN. There's always going to be. That's what they do. But I think that the options they gave you for once tagging, I still love the all-seeing eye.
Yes,
I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I love New Angeles Sol because the sheer number of currents is just phenomenal. In terms of the runner, I like what they did. They took interesting points from, they're like, oh look, well we tried to make a cloud runner before. He was kind of crappy. Let's make a proper cloud runner. They built something that uses weird new mechanics of putting cards face down that turns everything into, it's just another card to go in the bin face down so I can use it with my Endless Hunger.
Yeah.
And Adam is... what do I think of Adam? Adam is odd and good and confusing and interesting all at the same time.
The thing I like about Adam as well is that if you think about why everyone enjoyed Andromeda for so long, it's that on turn 1, they've played 4 cards and they're pretty much set up. They probably saw their Desperado, the security testing, this, that, and that. They probably played a run event or 2.
Yeah.
And then you consider Andromeda set up. Adam is also set up, but his setup kind of persists in more unique ways. And then you can trash that setup later to just flood your hand with more cards, kind of giving you that kind of Andromeda card boost, but mid-game if you want it, or even late game. So I honestly thought the directives would be more hampering than they were, but it's just the basically starting with a HQ interface, and if you play a few run events as well, you can play. What I actually did on my very first click as Adam is obviously had to make my run, but I had a Dirty Laundry in hand, so I played that. Went down to 3 credits because it costs 2 to use Dirty Laundry. Hit an asset that cost 5 in HQ. It's like, well, can't trash that anyway. My 3 credits are nice and safe. Then accessed a Pry-Rec, and then left HQ. Got some money from my Dirty Laundry, and now I have 3 agenda points. And it's just like, what a first click! Just like, oh, how great was that? Adam is great, and I will honestly say that trash cost is not a big a deal. If you playing very money light anyway, then don't worry about that, and you've already got your HQ interface. But it's it's an Eve campaign. That's what I hit. I hit an Eve, which ironically I can trash as Adam. Just like, oh, there's my beautiful Eve. She can stay in your HQ.
That's my girlfriend, you motherfucker.
If only I could liberate her.
And on that note, Mark, do the end of the show things that you do so well.
Thank you. I will. So you can find the podcast at our website, which is canlaugh.com/nerdrunners, and you can also send us some feedback through the contact form that's on the website as well. We also are on iTunes with some lovely new Orange album art. It's looking good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that few hours I taught myself how to do basic Photoshop skills paid off. You can also email the podcast at nerdrunnerspodcast@gmail.com. Any questions, comments, feedback, any jankiness. How have you found playing with Data and Destiny cards?
Yeah.
Let us know. Have you gone crazy over Spock like I have? Or are you going mad over Sunny like Steph is? We want to know. How are you getting on? What jankiness have you found? Any good card combinations and all that jazz? Let us know. We're genuinely interested to see what cool stuff people are putting out there. We're posting the podcast on Reddit. You can get RSS through Feedburner and any other podcast services that you subscribe. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything.
Yep.
What a wild ride this has been.
Well, until next time, farewell.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Just a word of warning, if it sounds like it's Warzone outside, it's because there are a load of local punks have got hold of rockets and are currently firing them at each other in the street. So I apologise for the sound quality.
Should we clarify it's bonfire night when we're recording this?
No, I meant more for you. I wasn't intending to include this in the
okay.
Yeah, it's more like, if you hear an explosion, it's probably not me dying.
It's probably not the rough area I live in, but rather the fact
I'm not even living in a rough area.
I know.
Just
I suppose if you got punks with fireworks running out outside your house.
Punks, I say.
Punks. Just stand outside with towel wrapped around your neck, wearing nothing, scaring them off, holding the scimitar. Roderick on the line style.